The galaxy had washed humanity for centuries. Its rise had been swift and violent, but also filled with a sense of tenacity that no one could deny. It was a species that adapted and evolved faster than any other. The Galactic Federation had always kept a watchful eye on them. They feared what humanity could become, and so they devised a plan to keep them in check, something that would ensure humanity stayed in its place. The idea was simple: give them a gift, a ship, a massive ship, an ancient relic of a civilization long gone, a ship that no species could ever hope to understand, and then watch humanity fall under its weight. The ship was called the Vanguard of Silence, a floating tomb that had once belonged to a race that conquered the stars and then disappeared without a trace. Its technology was far beyond anything humanity could imagine. The Federation had long ago realized that no one would ever be able to understand it or activate its weapons systems. The ship had become a symbol of death, the perfect way to keep humanity in line. They would give the humans this tomb and watch them turn away in fear or try and fail to unlock its secrets. General Elias Hunt had seen the message from the Federation. A diplomatic envoy was sent to Earth bearing the news of the gift. It was a ship far too advanced for any of humanity's current capabilities. It was a challenge disguised as a blessing. The Federation believed they could break humanity with it. They underestimated the one thing the Federation failed to see was humanity's natural curiosity. It was something that drove them beyond reason. It was that spark that had led them to explore the farthest reaches of their planet. And now it was the thing that would drive them to unlock the secrets of the Vanguard. General Hunt was the first to volunteer to lead the mission to recover the ship. His team of engineers and scientists followed him without question. The moment they set foot aboard the Vanguard, they could feel the weight of its silence. It was a colossal vessel, a floating relic of forgotten times. Its corridors were empty and cold, but there was something about it that felt alive, a pulse just beneath the surface, as if it were waiting for something or someone to wake it from its slumber. The ship's interior was an enigma. The crew spent weeks scanning and studying its systems, trying to make sense of it all. But they didn't give up. Their attempts to understand only grew more determined as they deciphered ancient alien technology. Bits and pieces of information slowly falling into place. They found themselves unlocking the most incredible discoveries. Inside its walls were weapons the likes of which no human had ever seen, technology that could reshape the entire galaxy. It was then that they found the reactor, the heart of the Vanguard. The moment they powered it on, the ship came alive, its hum reverberating through the corridors. As its systems powered up, the ship was not as dead as the Federation had thought. It was waiting, and now humanity had awakened it. The engineers could only marvel at the potential they had just uncovered, and with it a question that would shape their future. Could they control it? Could they turn this ancient weapon into a tool for survival? The moment of awe quickly turned into determination. Humanity wasn't afraid of what they had discovered. They were excited. The Federation had given them a tomb, but humanity had found the power to turn it into something else entirely. The moment the Vanguard's reactor hummed to life, it became clear that this ship was no mere relic of a lost civilization. Humanity had unlocked something extraordinary, and now they had to figure out what to do with it. The ship's internal systems were complex beyond anything Earth had seen, yet the engineers and scientists, led by General Hunt, were undeterred. Every discovery was a victory, and each piece of technology was a puzzle to solve. It wasn't long before they discovered the gravitational weapon, a system so advanced that it seemed almost magical at first glance, but humanity was used to things seeming impossible. It was what they did best, turning the impossible into reality. The weapon was capable of harnessing and manipulating gravitational forces, creating waves of energy that could destroy entire planets with a single shot. The technology had been dormant for eons, and no one could fathom why such power had been abandoned, but that didn't stop humanity from pushing forward. General Hunt stood in front of the massive console as the ship's systems flickered and hummed around him. The realization of what they had found started to settle in. This weapon had the potential to change everything. It was a double-edged sword, a tool of unimaginable destruction, but also a tool that could ensure humanity's survival. The Federation had gifted them a tomb, but humanity saw it as an opportunity to seize control of their fate. The first tests were cautious. The engineers slowly fed power to the weapon, calibrating it and testing its capabilities. The first shot was a small demonstration, harmless to anyone or anything, but the results were impossible to ignore. The gravitational pulse sent ripples through space itself and left a mark on the moon. They tested it on, leaving behind a crater the size of a city. Humanity had just unlocked the ability to reshape worlds. But they weren't done yet. They had only begun to explore the ship's capabilities. The more they uncovered, the more ambitious their plans became. The ship's systems had to be adapted to human standards, but it didn't take long for them to start enhancing what was already there. They began to understand the technology, to modify it, pushing the boundaries of their own engineering knowledge. The Vanguard was no longer just a vessel. It was becoming a weapon. It was becoming something far greater than any Federation diplomat could have imagined. The engineers and soldiers began to work together to outfit the ship with defensive systems, energy shields that could withstand direct hits from the most advanced weaponry in the galaxy, and offensive systems that could wipe out fleets with a single sweep of energy. Humanity was no longer interested in hiding behind the walls of their home planet. They had the power to confront any threat. But with every step forward, the question loomed larger and larger. Could they control this power? Could they stop once they had unleashed it? Or would they be forever changed by what they had awakened? The tension was building with every day. The Vanguard became more dangerous, more powerful, more like a living force of nature. The team knew the Federation wouldn't just sit idly by. The gift they had given humanity was not one meant for peace. It was meant to be a weapon of control, and now humanity had made it their own. No longer just a tomb, the Vanguard was humanity's weapon, and they were ready to use it. As the days passed, humanity grew bolder in their experiments with the Vanguard. Its technology was no longer just a curiosity. It had become a symbol of their strength and potential. Each test revealed something new, something more dangerous, something more powerful. The gravitational weapon had only been the beginning. Beneath the surface of the ship lay untapped systems that hummed with unimaginable energy, waiting to be awakened. It wasn't long before the team discovered a second power, a secondary weapon even more dangerous than the first. This was not just a destructive force. It was a weapon that could bend the very fabric of space itself. It could distort reality in a way that no one had ever believed possible, at least not outside the realm of science fiction. This weapon could create black holes, small enough to devour ships in an instant. It could tear entire fleets apart without them ever knowing what hit them. General Hunt knew what they had found was no mere tool of war. It was an instrument of control, and in the right hands it could shape the future of the galaxy. The Federation had seen this technology as a curse, but humanity saw it as an opportunity. The decision to keep the weapon secret from the rest of the galaxy became a simple one. Humanity was not in a position to trust anyone else with such power. The Federation's gift had become their own curse, and humanity would never allow it to fall into the wrong hands. Despite the overwhelming temptation to test the limits of their newfound weapon, the humans were careful. They knew that once the weapon was used, there would be no going back. They were no longer just tinkering with a piece of alien technology. They were holding the power to alter the balance of the entire galaxy, and that came with enormous responsibility. Yet as the engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to unlock every function of the Vanguard's arsenal, the feeling of unease remained. The power they had awakened was too great, too dangerous to control entirely, but humanity was never one to shy away from a challenge. They had learned to adapt to survive, and now they would learn to wield this power to ensure their place in the stars. They began to test the limits of the black hole generator, with small controlled experiments, watching as the weapon sent ripples through space, as if it were a stone dropped into a pond. But each ripple was a threat to everything around it. One fateful night, during a routine test of the weapon, a mistake was made. A minor malfunction in the targeting system created an uncontrolled pulse. A small black hole formed at the edge of the Vanguard's weapons array. It sucked in everything in its path, including parts of the ship's outer hull and a portion of the nearby moon. It wasn't a catastrophic failure, but the results were enough to make the entire crew stop and take notice. For the first time since the Vanguard had come to life, they realized just how much power they truly held in their hands. It was a sobering moment, But it also solidified something for General Hunt. Humanity could control this power. They just had to be careful. They had to be smarter than the Federation had given them credit for. And that realization made them stronger. They would not be controlled. They would not be the prey. They would be the hunters. The true test of this new power was approaching quickly. The Federation had no idea what humanity had discovered, but it wouldn't be long before they found out, and when they did, humanity would be ready. The Federation had been watching humanity's progress closely, and they were not blind to the rising threat. The moment the Vanguard had powered up, and the first test shots had been fired, they knew the humans had unlocked something extraordinary, something they could not allow to go unchecked at first. They had believed the Vanguard to be a relic of no importance, but now it was clear that humanity had not only unlocked its power, but had also started to enhance it beyond anything the Federation had imagined. The Federation's response was swift and calculated. They feared that if humanity was allowed to continue developing this weapon unchecked, the entire galaxy could be in danger. Their best minds were called into action, and a new mission was set into motion. A fleet was assembled with orders to neutralize the threat humanity had become before it could fully realize the destructive potential of the Vanguard. They believed they had to act quickly before humanity could bring the weapon into full operation and use it against them. The fleet was massive and well-equipped. The Federation believed that with their combined forces they could crush humanity before they could even begin to fight back. But they underestimated one thing: the sheer determination of the human spirit. The Federation had always underestimated humanity's ability to fight for survival, to adapt, to evolve, and to never back down when their future was at stake. General Hunt was the first to hear word of the incoming Federation fleet. The transmission was simple and to the point. A Federation admiral warned that humanity's actions had gone too far, and if they did not stand down, the Federation would be forced to take military action. The message was clear: there would be no negotiation, no second chances. Humanity was to cease all operations with the Vanguard or face the consequences. But General Hunt was not one to back down from a challenge. He had seen the power humanity now held, and he knew that they could no longer rely on anyone else for protection. The time had come to stand their ground. The Vanguard was ready, and humanity would fight to defend what they had uncovered. As the Federation's fleet approached the outskirts of the solar system, General Hunt made his decision. Humanity would not be intimidated. They would not surrender. They would fight for their future, and for the future of their children. He ordered the Vanguard's weapons to be fully powered up and prepared for battle. The gravitational weapon was ready to fire, and the black hole generator was armed. When the first shots were fired, the Federation fleet was caught off guard. The gravitational pulse from the Vanguard hit one of the leading ships and tore it apart. In an instant, the weapon's power had become something the Federation had never anticipated. The first wave of their fleet had been decimated, and now they realized they were dealing with an enemy unlike any they had faced before. The humans had made their stand, and the galaxy was watching as the Vanguard unleashed its power, a force unlike anything the Federation could comprehend. And with each shot, humanity proved that they were no longer the prey. They were now the hunters, no longer weak and helpless. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the Federation would have to decide how to respond to a species that had just become their equal. The battle had only just begun, and the Federation was realizing that humanity was no longer a threat they could easily control. It was a war for survival, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The moment the Federation's fleet had been decimated, humanity's resolve was solidified. The Vanguard had proved its worth in the first battle, but the humans knew that this was only the beginning. The Federation would not simply retreat. They would regroup and send everything they had to crush humanity once and for all. But humanity had something they had never had before: a weapon so powerful that no fleet in the galaxy could stand against it. General Hunt stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, his face grim but resolute. He had seen what humanity was capable of. He had seen the potential of the Vanguard, and he knew they could no longer wait for the Federation to make the next move. They had to take the fight to the heart of the Federation and show them that humanity would not cower in the face of overwhelming odds. The order was given. Humanity was no longer on the defensive. They would strike back, and they would do so with the full force of the Vanguard behind them. The ship's engines roared to life as they prepared to launch into deep space. The black hole generator hummed, and the gravitational weapon stood ready. It was time to send a message to the Federation that humanity was not to be trifled with. The humans had never been one to sit idly by waiting for others to decide their fate. They were creators, inventors, dreamers, and warriors, all rolled into one. And with the vanguard, they now had the power to not only defend themselves, but to shape their own destiny. They set their sights on the Federation's core worlds, a bold move that would send shockwaves throughout the galaxy. As they traveled through deep space, humanity's fleet of smaller ships followed closely behind the vanguard, a display of unity and strength. The humans had come together like never before, and it was clear that the Federation's gift had not just awakened a weapon, it had awakened a new era for humanity, one where they no longer depended on others for their future. The first encounter with the Federation's fleet in deep space was a brutal one. The humans were ready, and their newfound power was on full display. The Federation's ships launched a full-scale assault, thinking they could overwhelm humanity's defenses, but they were wrong. The gravitational pulses sent rippling shockwaves through enemy lines. Their ships shattered as the Vanguard's weapon tore them apart. The black hole generator did its job perfectly, sucking ships into voids where they would never be seen again. The Federation was stunned. The humans were no longer hiding behind the walls of their planet. They had brought the fight to them, and they were winning. The tide had shifted, and the Federation's forces were scrambling to regroup. Humanity had proven they were no longer weak. They were now an unstoppable force, and the Federation's fleets were no match for the raw power that humanity had unlocked. The second battle was no different. Humanity was relentless. They fought with everything they had, and with the vanguard at their side, they were not afraid to strike first. The Federation's ships continued to fall as the humans displayed their unmatched ingenuity and ferocity. They were not the prey they had been thought to be. They were the hunters now. The message had been sent loud and clear. Humanity had taken the gift of death that the Federation had given them and transformed it into a weapon of their own, making they were no longer just survivors. They were a new power in the galaxy, and no one would be able to ignore them any longer. The Federation had underestimated humanity, but now they had no choice but to face the consequences of their miscalculation. The war for the stars had only just begun, and humanity was ready to lead the charge. With each victory, humanity's confidence grew. The Federation had never expected their new weapon to be so powerful or so relentless. They had always underestimated human ingenuity and resilience, but now they were learning the hard way. Humanity had become a force that could not be easily controlled, and the galaxy was beginning to take notice. Word spread quickly throughout the galaxy of humanity's rise. The once small and insignificant species had awakened a power that could rival any other. The vanguard had become a symbol not just of destruction, but of hope for those who had been oppressed and silenced for too long. Alien civilizations watched as humanity tore through the Federation's fleets and began to strike at the heart of their empire. The question on everyone's mind was not whether humanity could be stopped, but whether the Federation could hold on to their grip on power. Alliances that had once been unshakable began to crumble as more and more species defected to humanity's side. They had seen what the Federation was willing to do to maintain control, and they were not interested in being part of an empire that would suppress them forever. Humanity had opened their eyes to a new path, one where the galaxy could be ruled by those who had the strength to lead and the wisdom to protect the weak. The Federation was not blind to the changing tides, but they were slow to adapt. Their leaders were divided on how to handle the threat humanity posed. Some wanted to escalate the war to full-scale annihilation. Others wanted to negotiate. But one thing was clear: the Federation could no longer ignore humanity, and they could no longer rely on their old tactics of control and manipulation. General Hunt was well aware of the galaxy's shifting dynamics. The Vanguard had given humanity power, but it had also made them a target. He knew the Federation would not stop until they had eradicated every last trace of humanity and their newfound strength. So the humans would have to act first. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had no intention of sitting on the sidelines. They were going to reshape the galaxy on their own terms. With the vanguard leading the charge, humanity began to mobilize their forces across the galaxy. They liberated oppressed worlds from the Federation's grasp and helped build new alliances with those who had once been afraid to stand against their oppressors. Now they were rallying behind humanity's cause, and for the first time in history, the galaxy began to see the possibility of something different, a future where the balance of power was not dictated by the few, but by the many. The Federation's response was swift and violent. They launched a series of counterattacks, hoping to slow humanity's momentum, but each time they were met with defeat. Humanity's determination was unmatched. Their ingenuity and drive to protect their newfound allies made them a formidable foe. They were not just fighting for survival anymore, they were fighting for a new order, one where every species had the chance to thrive and grow. The Federation's forces were stretched thin, their resources dwindling as they fought on multiple fronts against humanity and their growing coalition. They had not expected a war of attrition, and now they were beginning to realize just how costly their underestimation of humanity had been. They had thought humanity would be content with their discoveries, but what they had awoken in the humans was not just a desire for power, but a hunger for freedom and equality. The tide was turning. Humanity was not just fighting for their own survival, they were fighting for the galaxy itself, and as their power grew, the old order began to crumble under the weight of their ambition. The Federation was not ready for the revolution that was coming, and neither was the galaxy. They had been given a glimpse of a new world, and there was no turning back. The Federation's grip on the galaxy was beginning to slip away with every world that joined humanity's cause. The once unshakable empire was now fighting a war on multiple fronts, and it was becoming clear that they could not hold back the tide that humanity had set in motion. The Vanguard's power had turned the balance of power in the galaxy, and now the Federation was on the defensive, scrambling to regroup and figure out how to stop the unstoppable. General Hunt knew that humanity had to keep pushing forward. The Federation would not surrender quietly. They had too much at stake to let their empire fall apart. But humanity had something they had never had before: the support of countless civilizations that had long been oppressed by the Federation. And now they had an army behind them, an army fueled by the hope that humanity could lead them to a better future. The next battle would be decisive. Humanity knew it was coming. The Federation had massed their fleets in a last-ditch effort to crush humanity's forces and put an end to their rebellion once and for all. The Vanguard was ready, its weapons primed and its black hole generator fully charged. The humans had no intention of letting the Federation reclaim their power. The time had come to end this war once and for all. The battle began with a thunderous roar as the Federation's fleets engaged humanity's forces in the skies above a neutral world that had decided to join the revolution. The Vanguard was at the center of the chaos, its gravitational pulses tearing apart enemy ships as if they were made of paper. The black hole generator unleashed devastating waves of energy that swallowed entire fleets whole, leaving nothing behind but the void. The Federation had come with everything they had, but it wasn't enough. The battle raged on for hours as humanity's forces tore through the Federation's lines. Their smaller ships, now coordinated and unified, attacked in perfect harmony with the Vanguard's devastating weapons. No one had ever seen anything like this before. It was a display of raw power and military strategy that shook the very foundations of the galaxy. General Hunt stood at the helm of the Vanguard, watching as the Federation's ships were slowly destroyed one by one. The Vanguard's weapons were unstoppable. No fleet could match its might. The tide was turning, and it was only a matter of time before the Federation would be forced to surrender. As the last of the Federation's ships fell silent, the humans knew they had won, but the cost had been high. Many lives had been lost, and countless battles had been fought. The galaxy was forever changed, but it had been worth it. Humanity had risen from the ashes and taken control of their own future. The Federation's reign had come to an end, and now a new era was dawning. General Hunt looked out at the wreckage of the once mighty Federation fleet. The victory was theirs, but the war had left scars across the galaxy. The galaxy would need time to heal and rebuild, but humanity had proven that they were not just survivors, they were warriors. They had shown the galaxy that they would never be slaves again, and that their future was their own to shape. With the fall of the Federation came the birth of a new order, one where freedom, unity, and strength would reign, and humanity would lead the charge towards a new age of peace and prosperity. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity stood up and took their place among the stars as a power to be reckoned with. With the Federation defeated and the galaxy in upheaval, humanity found themselves standing at the edge of a new era. The vanguard had served its purpose in battle, but now it was time to build the future they had fought so hard to secure. No longer would they be erased fighting to survive in the shadows. They had proven their strength and their resolve. Now it was time to lead. General Hunt stood before the Council of Allied Species, a group that had grown significantly over the course of the war. What had started as a simple coalition of oppressed worlds had transformed into a powerful alliance bound together by the promise of freedom and prosperity. Humanity had become the center of this new movement, a symbol of hope for those who had once believed that the galaxy would forever be ruled by fear and control. The council chamber buzzed with anticipation as the leaders of the allied species gathered to discuss the future of the galaxy. The war was over. The Federation was no more, but the true challenge was just beginning. How would they rebuild a galaxy that had been ravaged by conflict? How would they ensure that the mistakes of the past were never repeated again? General Hunt spoke first, his voice steady and unwavering. The humans had been the spark that ignited the flames of revolution. But now it was time for everyone to come together and forge a new path. Humanity would not dictate the future. They had fought for equality, not domination. They had fought for the chance to help others, not to rule over them. And now they would do everything in their power to make sure the galaxy's future was one of unity and peace. The Council agreed it was time to dismantle the old structures of power that had held the galaxy in a vice grip for so long. The remnants of the Federation's influence had to be eradicated, and new systems had to be put in place that would empower all species equally. The galaxy needed to heal and rebuild, but most importantly, it needed to remember the lesson that humanity had taught it: no one would ever again be allowed to oppress others without consequence. Humanity's role in the new galaxy was clear. They would lead by example, not by force. Their history had been one of struggle and survival, but that had made them stronger and more compassionate than any empire could ever be. Humanity would act as protectors, not rulers. They would ensure that the mistakes of the past would never be repeated, and that no species would ever again be crushed under the weight of an oppressive regime. The vanguard was retired from active duty. Its purpose had been served, and now it would stand as a monument to the sacrifices that had been made during the war. It would serve as a reminder that no matter how dark the galaxy may become, there was always hope as long as there were those willing to fight for what was right. The first steps toward rebuilding began immediately. The allied species worked together to rebuild shattered worlds, to restore the balance of power, and to create a galaxy where every voice could be heard and every life valued. The scars of war would remain for a time, but over the years the wounds would heal and the galaxy would thrive. General Hunt watched as the first steps of peace were set into motion. Humanity had proven that it was capable of greatness, and now it was time to show the galaxy what they could truly accomplish when they worked together. The dawn of a new era had begun, and humanity would lead the way into a future where strength and compassion went hand in hand, a future where all species could flourish free from the chains of oppression. The galaxy would never be the same, but for the first time in a long time, it was a future worth fighting for.